This edition of Mac Voices is sponsored by Smile, the makers of PDF Pen, PDF Pen Pro, PDF Pen for iPhone, PDF Pen for iPad, PDF Pen Scan Plus for iPhone and iPad, Text Expander Touch, and Disk Label. Find out more about all their great products at smilesoftware.com. Welcome back to Mac Voices. This is the Talk of the Mac Community. I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, we haven't talked to Joe Kissell in a while. In fact, the last time we talked to him, he was teaching us how to get ready to upgrade to Yosemite. He's been under a rock working on new books, and now he's out from under the rocks, and Yosemite is out from under the rock. And so, Joe, it's great to have you back. Welcome back to the land of sunshine.
Thank you. Man, life has been kind of crazy for me. As you say, under a rock is not too far from it, but I've been crazy busy. I mean, Apple, this is the season when Apple just updates everything. New 2 new operating systems, all the, new versions of iWork apps, new version of iTunes, like new everything. And so, like, all of my books go out of date. Like, there was the new ones I was working on, but then all the old ones too. So just trying to keep up has been interesting. And, trying to do all this with 2 kids in the house and stuff. So
no stress at all. No stress at all.
Yeah.
No, and everything you just talked about is hardware or software, but there's also been hardware revisions.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And I don't think people understand what it is to be Joe Kissell. Everybody thinks, oh yeah, boy, isn't Joe great? He writes all these books, but they forget that means that every time that there's a major or sometimes even a minor revision, to keep them current the way you want to keep them current, you've got to go through and retest everything, examine the new features and all. Sometimes that means a minor update to the book. Sometimes it means a major overhaul.
Yeah, and we write books ahead of time as best we can based on, pre-release versions of software and stuff. But then, of course, Apple has a terrific reputation for changing things at the last minute. So even if there's like a new Gold Master release candidate a few days before, we still have to check everything with the actual real public release. And very often we notice a few little things different. Usually they're not big things, but we always have to check because there's always something. And so, I have my array of computers and hard drives, all these hard drives over here. And so that's one of those things is I have to be ready to pounce on any new version and download, install, test, and go, oh, yes, the tiny little thing that I have to edit in this book. And then, oh, no, that thing messed up a page break. So we have to go back and fiddle with stuff so that, things come out right in the book. So there's always a mad scramble at the end. And I'm just barely regaining my sanity.
Well, hopefully this can be a little bit of therapy for you, a little release to kind of cleanse you of the knowledge so that you can move on.
Yeah.
How's that for spin, Joe?
Sure. Yeah.
You bought it. Okay, so Yosemite is out, and we all, again, you were the guest back on MacVoices 14.192 to talk about getting ready to upgrade, and we went through all the usual and some not so usual preps in preparation for this upgrade. So now Yosemite is here. Given that I've taken all your advice, done everything that we talked about and everything in the book, should I be ready to jump on the Yosemite bandwagon, you think, at this point?
Yeah, let's say we haven't spent a whole lot of time with the final release yet. And I did spend a long, long time with betas, one beta after another, and multiple release candidates. Even in very late release candidates, I was noticing some things on some of my Macs that kind of made me go, I don't want to necessarily say it's broken or unstable, but there were just things that made me go, Normally, I am one to jump right in. I've got my great backups. I've got my, all the software is updated. I've done all the right things. So I would say, hey, you've prepared well. Just go ahead and jump right in. And especially with Yosemite, because it did go through a public beta, and hopefully most of the really awful things, if there were any awful things, have been caught and fixed by now. But I kind of suspect that the uptake is going to be a little bit slower on Yosemite because of those things that just kind of make me go, It's not like, oh, disaster or something just completely blew up when you installed it, but it's more like I think most of the things are actually third-party software that hasn't quite made it to complete Yosemite compatibility yet. Like when I install a completely clean version of Yosemite, just the stuff from Apple, really great. When I upgrade an existing Mac that has tons of third-party stuff on it, all those preference panes and system enhancements and login items and all those doohickeys, I little less optimistic. So I would kind of say it wouldn't be terrible to just relax for a few days, a week, just really not because of bugs in Yosemite so much as to let all these third-party developers get some of their bugs out and get some software releases out there. Do one last update. Install new versions of all your mail plugins and your menu bar items and all those sorts of things. One last backup and then go. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
This is going to come out sounding like an Apple apologist, but I think it's true for, any, especially operating systems, that we all tend to blame the manufacturer, and I'm right there with you. But at the end of the day, most of us throw a lot of stuff on top of our operating systems, and so I think folks need to hear what you just said. Install Yosemite clean, and it runs just fine. Start throwing in those things and things that maybe you haven't updated in a few versions. Maybe the author has not updated. Then throw in software that probably has been abandoned by the author, but you still use, or maybe it's just lurking in your system.
Yeah.
And suddenly you have that recipe, and unfortunately, Apple's the one that's going to take the hit. They're going to say, "Oh well, Yosemite crashed." Not quite so much.
Right. So I'll give you an example, which I give in the book too. Now it so happens that the folks that make the transporter, which you and I both have, I don't know if we're there anyway. Recently updated their software, the transporter desktop. However, it's quite possible that many people don't have the very latest version. And if you happen to update to Yosemite without having the very latest version of the transporter desktop, or frankly, maybe even if you did, I can't say for sure that the update solves this completely. You might see the following thing, which I saw on some of my Macs, which is you run the installer, you restart in Yosemite, everything looks good, but then after after that first restart, everything kind of takes a while to come back. Your things start up again, and you give it a few minutes for things to appear, and then your icons appear on your desktop, and then they disappear. Your Finder windows appear, and then they disappear. Then they appear, then they disappear, and it sort of gets in a loop of what's happening is the Finder keeps crashing. This is a problem that the transporter desktop software has had for a long time, that only manifests itself in certain specific situations, such as a system upgrade. But what happens is all you see as a user, you don't know that the transporter software is even involved in this. It just happened to be something that you had installed when you upgraded OS 10. All you see as a user is your Finder keeps crashing over and over and over and over again, and it's very frustrating because if you try to go run an app to figure out what's going on, you can't run an app because you can't because the Finder keeps crashing. So it's not it's not really Apple's fault. I mean, I guess you could say Apple could have disabled that software if they knew that it was causing a problem, but there's a fix for it. And I mean, the fix is on Transporter's website and in the book, and hopefully merely just having installed the new version of the software will take care of it for you. But there's so many little things like that where if you happen to have the wrong version of just one particular thing, it can cause really wacky behavior. And of course, you're going to assume that Yosemite is the problem because that's what you changed. You didn't change the other software. You changed your operating system. So it looks like Yosemite is the problem. In reality, it's something third party that's just doing something weird that happened to be prompted by this upgrade.
Good tip. Good tip, because you're right. A lot of times people, if you're not really paying attention to it or watching, you may not realize that it's the Finder crashing. It's just your windows disappear and then they come back. And because I've had that with other software, so I know what it looks like. But if you've never had it before, it can get a little interesting. Okay, so, and I'm kind of with you. If you want to hold off a week, I mean, everybody wants the new hotness, and who doesn't? But a week doesn't sound like an unreasonable time. Any other big surprises, Joe, or gotchas you think as you're doing this upgrade?
Well, there are a couple of things. So there's there's new stuff like iCloud Drive. iCloud Drive is cool. It's interesting. If you have not already upgraded to iCloud Drive, then you're going to be prompted. Do you want to do this during the installation process? And you probably, well, the advice when iOS 8 came out was don't do this yet, because if you do this now and you're still running Mavericks on your Macs, those Macs will lose access to documents you've stored in iCloud. So now that it's iOS 8 and Yosemite, is it now the time? And the answer is more likely yes than before. But the question is, are you still going to be using any Macs that aren't going to be running Yosemite? So if you have, let's say, two, and you're planning on upgrading one but not the other, or you're going to wait on the other, and that other one still needs to use iCloud, I mean, documents stored in the cloud, upgrading to iCloud Drive could break that. So you're going to have to judge, based on whether or not you're ready for all of your devices to be on the new operating systems. If you are, then absolutely upgrade to iCloud Drive, and it's nice, it's useful, you'll really appreciate it. If you're not quite ready yet, it could cause problems if you answer yes to please upgrade me to iCloud Drive. There are some other decisions you'll be asked to make. Do you want to use iCloud family sharing? And I think we'll probably talk more about that in the future when I have a new iCloud book to talk about. But family sharing on paper, it sounds like this great solution to half a dozen different problems for anyone that needs to share stuff with other people in their household. So purchases from the App Store and from iTunes, apps, books, TV shows, movies, music, as well as calendars and reminders and photos. Certainly something I'm really enthusiastic about because I have that situation here, and also iCloud Family Sharing lets you add children under 13 for the first time. They can have their own iCloud accounts and they can share stuff with you too. So my use case is I've got a 4-year-old who loves playing on the iPad, and he's constantly bugging me to buy him new games. And I'm like, well, sure, every once in a while, but gotta use the restrictions to turn off all the in-app purchases and all that stuff, because it could get dangerous real quick. What iCloud Family Sharing will do is he encounters a game that he wants or whatever, and he can tap a button that will put up an alert on my devices and my wife's devices that it's basically a request. Is it okay if he buys this, because it's going to be charged to your credit card, and you can say yes or no. So that's really cool. But early days, family sharing has been less than completely smooth. So that's another one of those things that if you haven't already turned it on, you might just want to chill for a week or two and see if some of those kinks get worked out. The parts of it that are working well, and I'm sure that when all of it is working well, it'll be great. It's just a little rough at the beginning. Some things just kind of aren't quite there. Looking at my list here. Okay. Here's my favorite thing. So when Yosemite was being announced, and there was this, the big presentation about all the new features, one of the things that they paid so much attention to, and just showing off how wonderful and brilliant and beautiful this is the increased use of translucency. Translucency everywhere. Oh, look, here's your mail window, but don't worry, you can still see a vague outline of your desktop background behind it. Why would I want to do that? I don't want to see the thing that's behind the window. I want to see what's in the window. I don't want it to look fuzzy or cloudy. I just want to see what's in my window. And, it's bad enough Mavericks had the translucent menu bar, which you could turn off. But now that same thing applies to major parts of Windows in the Finder and in Mail and all these other apps. And I really hate the translucency. I really, really hate it. So you can still turn it off, and that's one of the first things I say you should do after upgrading to Yosemite. It's just that the checkbox has moved and its name has changed. So you now have to go into the accessibility pane of system preferences, and there's a reduce translucency checkbox that you can check. And once you do that, everything is back to its normal, what I think of as normal, proper, mostly opaque self. But there are a bunch of little things like that I think are just going to make people go, why do they do this? And how do I turn this off? So I've tried to include some instructions for what the things are that you might think are missing, and they aren't really missing. They just have a different name and a different location, and here's how to turn it on or turn it off. And it's not that bad, but there are some things.
This edition of Mac Voices is sponsored by Smile, the makers of PDF Pen, PDF Pen Pro, PDF Pen for iPhone, PDF Pen for iPad, PDF Pen Scan Plus for iPhone and iPad, Text Expander Touch, and Disk Label. Find out more about all their great products at smilesoftware.com. PDF Pen is a powerhouse of a program. Sure, PDF Pen is great, and it might suit many of your needs, but if you want to get all those extra pro-level features, then you need to step up to PDF Pen Pro. It does all those essential things PDF Pen does, like allowing you to edit PDF documents by converting them into text using optical character recognition, like adding text, images, and signatures the original author of the PDF didn't, like inserting or removing or reordering pages to suit your needs, like being able to copy text out in rich text format or exporting it directly in Microsoft Word format that can be read by Apple's Pages, like all the other features that you've come to know and love from PDF Pen. But with PDF Pen Pro, you get more, like being able to capture and convert entire websites to multi-page PDFs, complete with hyperlinks, so you can view and work with them offline, like creating and editing a table of contents for your PDF document, like editing permissions to restrict saving, printing, and copying of your document, and much more. The team at Smile Software stays up late every night thinking of things that you want and need to do with your PDFs, and then building those features into future releases. And if you haven't noticed, those release numbers keep creeping up. PDF Pen and PDF Pen Pro are the most feature-rich set of tools yet. And you need them, because everyone uses PDFs, and everyone needs to be able to work with them just like you do any other documents. You can buy PDF Pen and PDF Pen Pro on the Mac App Store or straight from the Smile website at smilesoftware.com. Or get a free demo so you can find out just how useful PDF Pen and PDF Pen Pro are. You'll soon wonder why you were ever putting up with all those uneditable PDFs in your life. That's smilesoftware.com for PDF Pen, PDF Pen Pro, and all the other great software that helps you get things done. Smile. the makers of world-class software. Thanks to Smile for being the longest-running sponsor of MacVoices. Okay, so how about some of the brand new features that everybody's been waiting for? How well do you feel like they're working? And again, is it worth the upgrade, or do you think we should maybe wait till Yosemite, what is it, 10.8.1?
10.1 maybe?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. To just make sure that everything is functioning the way it should?
Well, on that same theme, so what I think of as the central innovation in Yosemite is its increased connections to iOS 8. So you have handoff, where you start a task on one device and continue it on another. It's part of the continuity set of features. You have, if you have an iPhone, a call comes in on your iPhone, but you can actually answer it on your Mac or on an iPad. An SMS message comes in on your iPhone. You can see it and reply to it on your Mac. Instant hotspot. So if you... Okay, Siri just...
Checking out Iowa State. Wow, there are 126 players at Iowa State, including Brandon or Buck, Sammy
Except
Richardson,
I really...
Ray Ryan.
Okay, this is an example of
Live interruption, I love it.
It's not working right. Yeah. You should be smarter than that. All right, I have unplugged Siri, so unplugged my iPhone so that Siri doesn't pester me. Iowa State? Come on, what? Really? Anyway,
on the other hand, it does show that Hey Siri works. It's just that it doesn't work.
Commercial where Siri's trying to talk the guy out of getting a new iPhone.
Yeah.
You're eavesdropping on me, aren't you, Siri?
Yeah.
I have no... Oh, so I was talking about the continuity features. Yeah. So there are these instant handoff or instant hotspot. Instant hotspot was what I was about to say, where you have your iPhone in your pocket and you're out in the park with your laptop or whatever, and you don't have to go through this awkward procedure to turn on tethering anymore. You just choose your iPhone from the airport menu and you're done. Okay. So this whole collection of features is also on that list of wasn't working so consistently, so reliably in the late betas and release candidates, and it's unclear as yet just how many of those imperfections may still be in the final version. So to the extent that it works, like I've had really good results with this, passing off phone calls from my iPhone to my Mac and SMS messages. Handoff has worked it's been kind of flaky for me. Sometimes it works great, sometimes it doesn't work. And instant hotspot too. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So unfortunately, the parts of Yosemite that I feel like are kind of the flashiest and the best and the most useful are in that kind of, I'm not sure they're 100% there at launch yet. Now, I mean, there are other things in Yosemite. Okay, it looks different. The icons are all changed and it's flatter, and I couldn't care less one way or another. I didn't mind the old font. The new font is fine too. Apple seems to feel like the actual just appearance of it is so revolutionary, and I'm indifferent to the appearance of it. But there are new features that some people will love, some people will think are just kind of irrelevant. Spotlight, redesigned Spotlight. If you weren't already a Launch Bar user, you're probably going to think that's fantastic. If you were a Launch Bar user, you're going to say, oh, well, there's some nice things there, probably not enough to tempt me to switch. Notification Center is improved. Mail, maybe a topic for another conversation. So I was speaking to a user group, and I was making a big deal of the fact that one of Mail's new features in Yosemite, which is called Markup, was dumb. So markup is this feature where somebody sends you a graphic or a PDF, and now you can annotate it just like you could previously in preview. But now instead of dragging out the attachment, opening it in preview, annotating it, and dragging it back into mail, you can do all those markup sorts of things without leaving mail. And I was sort of griping about this, like, who cares? Like that's something I might have to do once or twice a year. And when I do want to do it, I don't even want to use preview because PDF Pen does such a better job at it. And this woman in the audience took exception to my complaint. She's like, are you kidding? I use that like every day, multiple times every day. This is the best new thing in Yosemite for me. So I'm like, okay, sorry, I did not mean to offend. If you love that feature, then more power to you. You are part of the target audience for that, and I am not. I feel like a lot of the new things in Yosemite are like that. They're great for whichever small segment of the population really relies on that. And for the rest of us, we're just going to kind of go, okay, it's fine. I either will use it or I won't, but it's not that big of a deal. On the whole, I guess Yosemite isn't feeling like it's really life-changing. I mean, iCloud Drive is nice, and the new Spotlight is useful, and the improvements in Safari are largely good. But honestly, I don't feel like my life is going to change fundamentally because of Yosemite, other than hopefully selling some more books.
Joe, before we wrap it up, two things. First of all, let's follow up on that. Do you think at this point we should expect an upgrade to the OS at whatever level, a full point or a full name or whatever? Do you think we should expect it to change our lives, or do you think what we should really be hoping for is just to address some target audience features that may not apply to you, but they apply to me, or don't apply to either one of us, but apply to that lady? Is that a more realistic expectation?
Well, let me sort of come at your question sideways. So I'm reading a lot of people saying basically things like I'm saying, like, Apple has committed to these once a year updates to both of their operating systems, but then because they're working toward an artificial deadline, they're not just waiting to release it when it's done. They're saying, no, it has to be in September or October. They end up either rushing or not quite finishing things. And so the end result seems less and less stable. And so what a lot of people are saying is what we need next year is like the difference between Leopard and Snow Leopard. So Snow Leopard was basically just fixing all the stuff in Leopard and making it stable and reliable and getting rid of the bugs and not really adding significant new features. And so a lot of people are saying, well, we need that kind of thing with Yosemite because we've gotten to that point where we don't really need new features so much. What we really need is something that's reliable and something that we're not going to complain about. So I don't really feel like there are a whole lot of major missing features. I mean, that's what sells. It's free, right? So it's not like Apple is making money directly off of the sales of Yosemite, but I think they would make their installed base a lot happier if instead of working on new features just because they look flashy and they demo well, like translucency, if they concentrated on stability, reliability, performance, and that would be, I think, a better, something I would look forward to more in next year's update.
Okay, so you've gone there, so let's just go there. What's the benefit of this yearly upgrade cycle if we do have reliability issues? And I was going to get to that in a little different fashion, but we'll take it this way. And especially since it's free, if they were picking up 30, 40, 50 bucks a copy, yeah, I can understand it. But why do we have to have these big target upgrades that, Yosemite, oh my, it's going to change the world? And in your estimation, apparently it doesn't. I'm not sure because I haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
What's the benefit? Is it just a matter of press and a matter of appearances?
That's part of it. Another part of it is, Apple releases new Macs, and the system software has to be updated to support them. Apple could have released a new version of Mavericks, I assume, to work with new Macs. Part of it is just there is now this public expectation, and the fact that Apple is trying so hard to integrate their two major product lines and their two major operating systems is also part of it. So, in fact, the changes to iOS 8 drove a lot of the changes to Yosemite and vice versa. You can't have the continuity features without modifications to both platforms. And iCloud Drive and the new photo sharing features and things like that in iCloud don't make sense on just one platform. They have to happen on both. So if Apple actually cares more about iPhones, which I'm sure they do, and they want to sell more iPhones, and they believe that what will sell more iPhones is adding features like this, then that pushes them to add those same things to their Mac operating system. I mean, I don't want to sound negative. Like, look, I'm running Yosemite on my Macs. It's basically fine, and I'm sure that in the long run I will be happier running Yosemite than Mavericks. I'm not saying it's a disaster by any means. Nothing of the sort. I just feel like a lot of the things that were added are more flashy than useful, and I think it would probably be better for all concerned to focus on usefulness first and flashiness second.
Okay, so maybe you already answered this in your sideways answer, but I'm going to ask it directly. Joe, is it realistic for us to expect all these features to be flawless right out of the gate, or to bring us full circle? Are the issues that you're seeing, you think, predominantly caused by software that just hasn't been upgraded? And your file transporter software example was perfect. Is it just that we almost have to expect, as complex as the systems are and as much software as people are running now, that there just has to be a period of catch-up for everybody?
Well, it's both. I mean, in terms of just like crashes or my operating system just isn't doing what it's supposed to do, or it's running too slowly or stuff, I think a lot of the reasons for those problems are related to third-party software. But when you have an Apple feature that only works, that is strictly part of the OS, and the continuity features obviously fall into that category, you can't really blame anybody but Apple. If you have a clean copy of Yosemite on your Mac and a clean copy of iOS 8 on your iPhone, and the things that are supposed to work together don't, well, you really can't blame anybody else. So I have really felt as though Apple was basically working with, okay, we have to release iPhones in September because we have to, and so therefore these features have to be done in iOS 8 by then, and we've had the debacle of 8.0.1 and so forth, and the Macs have to be released. Or Yosemite has to be released about a month later because the people who are using iOS 8 now they don't have a full experience. They don't have the full experience that was promised. They can't do everything that they're supposed to be doing. Things like iCloud Drive are only sort of half working, so we have to release the other half. Even if there weren't new Macs, we have to release that other half soon, and those deadlines could move a little bit, but I don't think they're ever going to go away. Apple's always going to have this pressure to have hardware releases and OS releases in the fall, and I just feel like it's such a huge job. We really can't count on everything being fully baked. And I have to say, these things, the ways in which iOS 8 and Yosemite interrelate are really ambitious. And the more ambitious you're trying to get, and the more variables, the more moving parts, the more different devices, and the more combinations of things that have to work correctly together, the greater the possibility of error is, and the harder it is to get it right. So I just think Apple has gotten themselves into a tricky spot where they are under pressure to do something that is kind of unrealistic to do.
I don't know. I mean, I guess you make some great points. Some of them, I've thought about before. Some of them I haven't. I do sound like an Apple apologist at times, but even for some of the other operating systems, I just think that things have become so complex, not just in the iOS, but also, there was a time, Joe, that we all ran about, unless you were a Mac geek, you probably ran about 5 to 7 programs on your Mac. And
Sure.
Then you started stacking utilities in, and then you had the little startup items. You'd have the little lines of icons marching across your screen, and that was a badge of pride of some kind that you could have 6 lines and not have it crash. I mean, remember
Right.
those days? That. So I don't know that we're back there, but I think there's this huge temptation to sell and try apps, and especially at lower prices. You throw stuff on the machine. Maybe you forget about it. Maybe it didn't work for you, but you just didn't bother to uninstall it or uninstall it correctly.
Yeah.
And here we are. And then you have a machine that's less than stable, and you blame Apple.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, give us, well, of course, this is take control of upgrading to Yosemite 1.1. So it's a free upgrade for those who bought the original book.
Right.
But if you didn't do that, and
if you didn't do that, then
You should have.
you're going to have to pay $15 instead of $10. You've lost the discount now, unless you buy a bundle, and we do have bundles. Take control of upgrading to Yosemite with some other books about Yosemite and iOS 8, one of which you and I will be talking about real soon. And bundles will, of course, save you a bundle.
What a salesman! What a salesman! Joe,
What can I say?
it's great to have you back to the land of the living. Thanks for being here. Thank you for all the work on testing Yosemite and getting us all up to speed, maybe with a little less pain than we would have had otherwise.
My pleasure.
Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. That's Joe Kissell. He is the author of the newly updated Take Control of Upgrading to Yosemite 1.1. Go and get it now. Reduce your pain. Until the next time, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for links, show notes, to subscribe, to connect with Chuck on Twitter, Google+, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter, the MacVoices Dispatch, to stay up to date on all the latest MacVoices news from our front page or at MacVoices.com/newsletter. Advertising and sponsorships handled by Backbeat Media at BackbeatMedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at CashFly.com.